Good evening and welcome back to the Rory Talks Football YouTube channel. It is a Tuesday, it is a midweek, and Arsenal haven't got a game tonight or tomorrow. I don't know what to do with myself. It's nice to have a little bit of a break, a breather. And if that's how I feel, God knows how the players must feel. But yeah, a midweek without either a preview or an actual game to talk about is crazy. Absolutely crazy. But there are a couple of things that we're going to talk about. You know, I'm trying to keep up the consistency here on this channel. We're just going live every evening, no matter what. And there's loads of you here, which we absolutely love to see. Before we get into it, if I could please ask you to like the stream, those of you that are here early on especially, and if you could subscribe, I would be very grateful. If you're not already, we're on the way to 38,000 subscribers. Oslo Gunas here, VV Vlad, Wilhelm, BPJs, maybe? Leeds Gunner, IZK, Gabriel, what a legend yesterday. Bingo Bango, welcome. Curtis, Real Ones just finished watching the new Back Post episode before this. Yeah, obviously the Back Post podcast came out last night. If you listen on audio, you get the full podcast there and then. If you watch on the YouTube channel, of course, last night we had the North London Derby reaction, but today the video was making sure that Tobes, our little Chelsea fan, didn't get away with it because they drew at home to Burnley, having taken the lead. So, yeah, it was an enjoyable one that came out today of, just getting a bit of needle into Tobes, especially after the way that those two were so giddy last Thursday. Oh, God, when we had to do that podcast last Thursday, and they were absolutely loving it, and the weekend brought them down a peg or two. Deservedly so. Never often in the chat, sneakily watching at work. Go on, Max. Defy the bosses. Good day. No, don't do that. You might get sacked. Nice to catch you live again. Welcome. So yeah, look, there's a couple of things to talk about today. First one, in terms of actual Arsenal news. Where am I? There I am. We signed 2 new professional contracts today for the youngsters. So the first one was Malik Hashi. He has signed. This is who he is, what he is. So Malik Hashi was delighted to sign his first professional contract, calling it a proud moment for himself and his family. The creative midfielder joined us in December 2022 and having worked his way up to the under-18s level, has penned his first pro deal as a gunner. Joined by his family at the Shoba Realty Centre, our midfielder explained what signing the first senior contract of his career meant to him. He said, "I'm really excited. It's a proud moment for me and my family." And he said, "It's not only me that is on this journey. It's my family with me as well and helping me every day to get better. I started probably in the garden with my dad just doing kick-ups and then found my way at Arsenal. Then from there, got 2 years of under-16s and then got my scholarship. And now we're here." Malik has already experienced success being part of the team that won the under-16s Premier League Cup last season. The 17-year-old feels the experience of playing in a cup final will be valuable as he pushes forwards with it. It was a really good feeling. It was playing as a team, getting through tough games and getting to the final as well was a big moment in itself. Interestingly, I found this bit quite interesting. He said he described the experience of being in and around our first team squad as mesmerizing, singling out Declan Rice as a player that he's particularly inspired by. Just being around the first team, looking up to them and taking notes of how they work on themselves day in, day out, just seeing how they work is really inspirational. Declan's attitude, every time he comes in, he's always smiling, ready to train, ready to put the work in. I think it's a big inspiration for a lot of other young players as well. Have I missed the Havertz news? No, we'll talk about Havertz in a bit. So that is young Malik Hashi, who has signed a new contract, which is absolutely fantastic. And that was followed up by Teshaun Murisa, who also signed a new contract. Murisa said he was thankful to his family and had achieved a dream by signing his first professional contract. He said, "I'm very delighted to achieve my dream of signing." Does it say what position he actually plays in? It said the other guy plays as a creative midfielder. Either way, he said, "I've been here since I was 6. So obviously, the other guy came in 2022. This kid's been here since he was 6 years old. So it means even more to me. And I'm just really thankful to my family for always supporting me. Coming through Hale End for about 10 years now, You see so many people go through the same journey that you want to go on. Actually achieving it now just makes it feel even better. And that's a big thing when you look at the likes of Saka and then Waneri and Dalman coming through. Seeing those players have the success they've had from that age is obviously a massive thing in terms of keeping these kids within the club. He's been part of the group of players to move up through the Arsenal age groups together, winning the Under-16s Premier League Cup and playing against Manchester United in the FA Youth Cup at the Emirates Stadium. Our midfielder values those connections. So it's another midfielder. And then I think... Yeah, look, and then this was the bit again. He said, I think it's really important to have players in the first team who you want to be like because it gives you a goal that you need to aspire for and that you want to reach. Especially certain players like Declan Rice. They give you advice and help and tips on what you need to do to get to their level. So I did find that quite interesting reading through both of these, that both of them, Hashi and Murisa, have both highlighted Declan Rice, name-checked Declan Rice as a big player and a big influence on them. And I do think looking forwards, obviously, look, we've had these conversations previously about the captaincy and who should be captain and what happens with the captaincy going forwards. And when you're hearing these youngsters coming through and they're sort of, idolizing Declan Rice and he's a real role model for them, I do think that when you're having those conversations, that definitely plays a factor. So I thought that was quite interesting. Get up, babe. The GOAT is live. Nid, good to see you. Info on Saka. That's a good reminder, actually. Yeah, there was info on Saka. Let me just bring it up or read it out for you. So yesterday, obviously he went off injured, right? And it was a bit worrying at the time. Then it was less worrying because he got up and he seemed to be walking around all right. And then he was dancing a bit at the end of the game. Then that Indy Kyler page, which is an absolute fraud of a page, right? An absolute scumbag, posted, Saka has had his scans, fingers crossed. He posted that yesterday morning, which obviously makes everyone paranoid. It obviously makes people worried that Saka's having scans, like what could it be? But Hand of Arsenal quoted that, or he didn't even quote it. He didn't even give it the oxygen. He took a screenshot of it and he said, my understanding is that Bukayo Saka did not have any scans today. More shameful scaremongering at the expense of Arsenal fans who are celebrating a North London derby win. Choose the sources of your information wisely. Here. So Hand of Arsenal confirming that Bukayo Saka has not had to have any scans, which is obviously a very good sign. So hopefully he is going to be all good. What's with Ben White? We don't know with Ben White. It was a minor thing, supposedly, that he picked up in the Wigan game. It was interesting because he picked it up in the Wigan game, I think, and then had it, then was on the bench, an unused sub against Wolves, and obviously is now injured. Do you remember in the Wigan game, he went down towards the end of the game and we weren't sure if it was fatigue or if it was an actual injury. And we were told it was just fatigue. And then he was in the Wolves squad. So you were like, oh, sweet, it was just fatigue. But then he's not in the game against Spurs. So I do think it was actually an injury in that game. Hey, Rory, I left a comment on the replay of the last stream about the possibility of membership videos. I will check it out, Jim. I will make sure to check that out. I appreciate the comment. Can we go a week with no injuries, please? It would be nice. To be fair, I would say at the moment we're doing all right with injuries. You've got, obviously, Mikel Merino's probably out for the season, which is a real hammer blow. But outside of that, you've got Kai Havertz, I think, coming back this weekend, and you've got Ben White. And that is it. So overall, we're going to be going into this Chelsea game, I would imagine, with Mikel Arteta once again having to choose who not to include in the squad. When you look at Spurs' injuries, it's unbelievable. City have got a couple. Chelsea have got a fair few injuries. Excuse me, to be honest with you. Cucurella's injured for them. They've got Esteval that's injured for them. Was there someone else I'm forgetting? Obviously, Fofana is suspended for them. Where was the news that Kai was coming back? There's no news officially that Kai is coming back. But I think the way that it's been worded, I mean, Arteta basically said he was very, very close to making it for the Spurs game. So I would imagine if he was that close to the Spurs game, he will be available for the Chelsea game because it's it's an extra week of recovery. And it was supposedly never a significant injury in the first place. We're getting injuries, but at least they're not season-ending or 1 to 2 month-long layoffs. Yeah, look, it's not... If you think back to sort of December time when you had Gabriel out for however long, Mosquera out for however long, obviously Jesus and Havertz still hadn't returned. That was more like end of November-ish. But yeah, we're doing all right at the moment. Is the Goon Platoon assembled? Yeah, there's plenty of Goon Platoon here. There's plenty of Goon Platoon. Can you shout out Patrick? He's very cool. Shout out Patrick. I will take your word for it, Cheyenne. I will take your word for it. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to say actually on Declan Rice in terms of the captaincy and whatever. And listen, I still don't want to have this conversation this season in terms of it being like an actual official conversation. And I do still think the best way to navigate it is to once again put it to the players. But it is also interesting that I'm seeing far more interviews and various press-related things from Declan Rice than from Martin Odegaard. You know, it was after the Wolves game, and of course Odegaard didn't play in that Wolves game, but after the Wolves game, it was Declan Rice that came out. It was him that did the interview. I think another interview's just come out with The Sun, but an interview nonetheless. Again, it's with Declan Rice. We're seeing a lot more of him publicly than Martin Odegaard. And I do feel like Rice has sort of stepped up a lot of the times when it's been bad, and he's kind of fronted up to it. So Saka will be captain, not Rice. I think if we move away from Odegaard and it gets opened up again, I think it becomes Rice. Ultimately, I'm not a fan of wingers being captains. You want your captain to be in and around the referee, in my opinion, and you also want them to be connected to all parts of the pitch. So Odegaard, in a way, isn't ideal, but I think with Declan Rice, he's connected to the back line, he's connected to the attack, he's all over the pitch. So yeah, I think if it was put up again, then I think it would be Declan Rice. Gasfan TV. Hi, Rory. As always, I love your content. Bit of an odd question. How do you stream live on here? Do you use StreamYard or something else? Take care, bro. Yeah, I use StreamYard. I think everyone uses StreamYard, to be honest with you. It would be odd to strip Martin of the captaincy if he was still playing a big role in our club. He would have to be sold, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think he'd have to be sold, but if he's not starting week in, week out, and you look ahead to the Chelsea game, right? Odegaard could start, but you wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. For me, Odegaard is no longer a guaranteed starter. And I think your captain should be a guaranteed starter. So for us, realistically, guaranteed starters are Jurriën Timber, realistically now. Raya, obviously. Saliba, Gabriel, Declan Rice, Kai Havertz, and Bukayo Saka. Maybe not even Kai Havertz, to be honest. But I do think if Kai Havertz is fit, he definitely starts. But he's been injured a lot. And I think it has to be one of those. I think the flurry of interviews was for promoting the new jackets. Yeah, to an extent, but there's still it's the fact that it's Declan Rice fronting up to it, right? You've got to go, okay, someone's got to go and do an interview after that it felt like a defeat, after that draw to Wolves. Who's going to be the guy that goes and does it? And it'll be Declan Rice. How long left on Odegaard's contract could be a factor in decision to be made. Well, that's another interesting thing, in fairness, because I think I will just double check it, but I think Martin Odegaard has 2 years left at the end of this year. So as we go into the summer, I believe he has 2 years left. I think he's got till 2028, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, so Martin Odegaard signed a new 5-year contract at Arsenal, keeping him at the club until 2028. So that was in 2023. So actually, if you start looking at some of our other players, we're already moving on contracts for players whose contracts would be out in 2028. Not heard anything yet on Odegaard. So, I don't know. It's an intro. I mean, I don't want Odegaard to go anywhere. I think Odegaard still has a massive role to play. I still think he's an excellent player to have in the dressing room. I think maybe the freedom of not being the captain could help him. But yeah, it's an interesting one. With all the love, Odegaard time has come. With all the love, Odegaard's time has come. I'm sorry, but that's part of being champions. We can't encourage mediocre. 2.5 years has to be sold. I'm sorry. I wouldn't say it's 2.5 years. I'd say it's 18 months where Odegaard's not been at his level. I think the second half of 23-24, he was unbelievable. Last season and this season, I think he struggled. Tom, thank you very, very much for being a member for 8 months. Have no idea who gave me this membership, but cheers. Also, what's all the talk about Odegaard leaving? Look, I don't think it's crazy talk about Odegaard leaving, but I think when you look at the squad and the way it's built at the moment, it's an interesting conversation. It is an interesting conversation. More likely than not, by the way, your membership came from Gabriel yesterday. Gabriel gave 10 memberships yesterday. So the probability would suggest it probably came from him. Him and Gyökeres is a lethal combination off the bench to kill games. Yeah, I don't disagree at all. City did switch from KDB to Walker as captain last season. Yeah, I mean, that didn't go particularly well, in honesty. But yeah, you're right, because De Bruyne wasn't playing many games because he was injured a lot. It's the flip side of it is this, right? The flip side of it is we have a leadership group, and if Odegaard isn't on the pitch, Saka is the captain. If neither of them are on the pitch, Gabriel's the captain. And that's not the end of the world, right? It's perfectly fine to have that situation. I don't know. Rory, why don't you do predicted starting lineups also? I do. I normally do a short video as a predicted lineup. You can normally see them on this channel. You can see them on my TikTok, on my Instagram. I normally do a video before each game, which is my Arsenal lineup to start the game. And we also normally talk about it in the preview episode as well. What are we hoping for in all the qualifiers tonight? Good question. This is what we need. We do need a little bit of what do you call it? We need questions for content for the stream, because there's not a huge amount to talk about today. What do we want tonight? In my opinion, listen, we want as many bad teams to go through as possible in the longer run. So if Club Brugge can go through against Atletico Madrid, great. I'd far rather play against Club Brugge than Atletico Madrid. Leverkusen are 2-0 up against Olympiacos. Realistically, they're going to go through, which is obviously that's a potential option for us. Bodo Glimt beating Inter would be ideal. Absolutely ideal. And Newcastle, obviously, they're through against Karabakh, so it makes no difference. If Inter and Atletico both got knocked out, in terms of like grim teams I know we've beaten Atletico 4-0 this season, right? But in terms of just those awkward teams to play against, I'd quite happily see that both of them go. And realistically, right, we are most likely going to end up playing one of Leverkusen and Dortmund. It was both of them won their first legs 2-0. I don't really mind either way. I think we would rather play Leverkusen than Dortmund, for sure. But even with Dortmund, I mean, Spurs beat them quite comfortably in the league phase. I think the quality of the Bundesliga right now is on the absolute floor when you look at the Bundesliga. And so whether we end up against Bayer Leverkusen or Borussia Dortmund, I'm not too bothered either way. But clearly Bayer Leverkusen appear to be the weaker of those two teams. And then outside of that, if you're looking ahead to the games tomorrow, again, Dortmund probably going to go through against Atalanta. If Galatasaray can knock Juve out, great. If Monaco could somehow knock PSG out, that would be a dream. Probably not going to happen. And again, if Benfica could knock out Real Madrid, that would be nice. But again, probably not going to happen. But yeah, from our perspective, it is what it is, really. Liam, thank you very, very much for the $4.99. If you could pick the player to score the goal to win us the league, who would it be? It would be Bukayo Saka. It's got to be Bukayo Saka. The kid's been with us from the beginning of this journey. Like, he has dragged us through. And, like, it would be what he deserves, and it would be such a good way to sort of crown what Arteta, the core of what Arteta wanted to do when he arrived. Like, Saka is the embodiment of that. It would just be perfect. Gyökeres, nah. Don't get me wrong. Am I going to complain if Gyökeres scored the winning goal for us to win the league? Absolutely not. But Saka, for me, Saka would be the one. There are other players. I mean, Gabriel. I wouldn't mind a Gabriel set piece just to reaffirm us as the set piece kings. I wouldn't mind that. I would. There's a lot of players. But for me, Saka is the one that deserves it most. Saka is the one, when you think about that tweet in 2020 where he talked about us deserving better all the way through, that would be the one. Dex? Yeah, Rice would be all right, but a lot of the same reasons that I'd be happy for it to be Rice apply even more to Saka. That's Hale End. That's a kid who's been here since he was 7. That's the dream. Willow, just to see his crazy celebration. To be fair, if Saliba scored his first goal of the season and that was the goal, that would be pretty epic. It would be pretty epic. You said yesterday Ben White leaving without a title would be a shame. I swear I felt so emotional thinking about it. No, that's the thing. Players like Ben White, players that have been here since 21, 22 are players that really, really deserve it, right? The ones that were here in 2022, 21, 22, and are still here and are still a part of the team. And then obviously before that you've got Saka, but I would want someone very young like Lewis Skelly because that would be an amazing moment for them. Yeah, that's fair, but it would also be an amazing moment for Saka. Marley Salmon. Javier, thank you very, very much for becoming a new member of the channel. I'm incredibly grateful for that. Thank you. The money, as always, from memberships goes straight back into the channel. It does massively help me. Enjoy the custom emojis and the custom little icon next to your name. Love you, Rory. Don't turn out to be right. Wing garbage like Goldbridge. Also, please do watch-alongs. Don't think you do them. I do some watch-alongs. Mainly watch-alongs on the back post now. Instead of this channel. And I don't watch Goldbridge enough to know what he's done. But Palmer injury / illness excuse predictions for this week. It's an interesting one. It is an interesting one. Nid said I've been ignoring his messages these days. Have I fallen off? Nid, I never ignore your messages. I never ignore them. What did you say? Saka or Odegaard? One was the first to buy into the project and the other was born into it. Yeah. For me, Saka, though. For me, Saka. Sorry I'm late. Became a member to make up for it. Javier, legend. Yeah, Peter. Palmer injury, illness, excuse predictions for this week. The thing is, he kind of has to play. He kind of has to play because of the situation that they're in. Like, the Esteval's injured, I believe. So, yeah. But, when was the last time he played Arsenal? Obviously, he came on as a sub in the second leg of the Carabao Cup, right? Good to see you. Why is Palmer always avoiding Arsenal? He just doesn't want the test. He does not want the test. Embarrassing talking about politics on an Arsenal stream. Oh, right. I've not seen that. That's one, by the way, that's one of the reasons that I don't necessarily want to do watch-alongs, especially for games that I'm not supporting a team in, because you do end up just finding yourself talking about stuff that you've just got no reason to be talking about. Will Cucurella and Esteval be back for the City game? Good question. I'm not sure. I think so. I think Cucurella's due back early to mid-March. I think Cucurella's due back. And probably the same with Esteval. So, yeah. Either way, Palmer's in such bad form, I don't mind. True. Question, Rory. What happens if we win the title? Do we celebrate against Burnley at the Emirates or at Palace? Come on now, this is why I wanted more than a game gap. We celebrate at home, ideally. Ideally, we win for me, and obviously I'm biased because I'll be at the home game and I won't be at the away game. I would love us to win it at a home game. I think that's better for the fans. But you never know. We'll see how it goes. 9 Mile, thank you very, very much for the 279 predictions for the City Leeds game. Listen. I could see Leeds getting something out of it. Leeds have only lost 2 games since the end of November. One was against us and one was against Newcastle. And the Newcastle one was 4-3, where they conceded 2 goals in injury time. The only game where they've been actually properly beaten was against Arsenal since November. Under the lights, Elland Road. Don't give me hope. Is it an evening game? Yeah, it's a 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. Don't give me hope. If Leeds take points off, you put Daniel Farke on the thumbnail. I could put Daniel Farke on the thumbnail. City aren't getting 9 from 9 against Leeds, Forest and West Ham. Hopefully not. 2 signings. Yeah, 2 academy signings, Kronos. It was two kids that were already in the academy. They've signed their first professional contracts. Teshaun Murisa and Malik Hashi have both signed new contracts. One other thing I wanted to talk about, by the way, is this absolute nonsense. Look at this, right? Let me bring it up. So Arsenal published this today, as did the Premier League. Everton Premier League match subject to change. The Premier League has confirmed that our home Premier League match against Everton, currently scheduled for Sunday the 15th of March, kickoff at 2 p.m, is still subject to change, with the confirmed date to be decided after the Champions League draw on Friday. The Premier League has published the following explanation, giving further details around the decision-making process. So basically, West Ham against Man City and Arsenal against Everton, neither of them are now locked in. Neither of them are locked in because the following midweek, we have the Champions League games. And basically, all 6 Premier League teams that are in the Champions League, assuming that Newcastle go through being 6-1 up against Qarabağ, all 6 of those Premier League teams are meant to be on TV the weekend before those midweek games. So the weekend that we're meant to play Everton, the 14th and 15th of March, Man City against West Ham, that's scheduled to be on TV. Arsenal against Everton, scheduled to be on TV. You've then got Newcastle against Chelsea, scheduled to be on TV, and Liverpool against Spurs, scheduled to be on TV. All 6 of us in the Champions League. But of course, the Champions League midweek, someone's got to play on the Tuesday. And you can't play Sunday, Tuesday. And so, unless every single Premier League team plays on Saturday, there's no way of guaranteeing that there won't be a clash. So I think they've already made it so that Chelsea and Newcastle will probably have their Champions League games on the Tuesday because their Premier League game is on the Saturday. And Spurs against Liverpool is staying on the Sunday. So that means Spurs and Liverpool will both play on the Wednesday in the Champions League. But for our game, they've now left it up in the air. So it might be that our game ends up getting moved to the Saturday night. And you might think, well, what's the drama? Saturday night, Sunday, 2 p.m, doesn't really matter. The issue is they had already kind of locked this in as if this was sorted, basically. So, first of all, not that it impacts me, Everton fans will have booked travel, accommodation for the Sunday. So very possibly staying Saturday night in London. If not, they'll have booked trains to and from London on the Sunday. They will now have to cancel them. But even for us, if you're in the UK, Sunday the 15th of March is Mother's Day, where a lot of people go and, spend the day with their mothers. Now, I knew I'd be at the game, right? So I've organised with my parents that I'll go and see them on a different day. But then if this gets moved, then I could have done that on that day, and now I'm going to have to rearrange it again. It's a load of nonsense. And all of it is because they didn't have the foresight to think, okay, this major clash could happen. Absolute joke. Taylor missed 95% of the stream. Unacceptable. Nid, this is why I don't read out your comments, Nid. This is what happens, Nid. Subconsciously, it's all in here. Rory, did you cover the change in technical director at the club? News is that we're lining up the former Chelsea academy, Saka, as a replacement. Yeah, I actually didn't talk about it. I don't think we went live. When was that announced? Was that announced last Friday or something? And I couldn't be asked. But yeah, basically that news, if you didn't see it, James Ellis, who was our technical director, left the club quite abruptly because he was only promoted last summer to help Andrea Berta, and he's already left, which for me is a little bit of a red flag in terms of there's been quite a lot of upheaval and instability in the club recently, and there are some things that are happening where you're like, oh, it seems positive. When a lot of it's happening, you're like, this is a lot of instability mid-season, right? When we're doing well. But James Ellis is gone, and then there's this. I can't remember his name, but there's a guy who was the Chelsea academy guy, and he's really well respected, really highly regarded, and apparently he may be coming in to do recruitment for us. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I don't really know. James Ellis conducted an internal academy review and now he's been sacked. Yeah, it's an interesting one. Arteta literally the only one left from when he joined once Per is gone. Yeah, possibly. I mean, there might be a few senior people knocking around that I can't remember. It's one of them, right? Like, I try and stay on top of it. I try and stay on top of it in terms of understanding, like, everyone's roles and all that stuff. But I don't think you can even know. Like, a lot of those, like a technical director, sporting director, XYZ director, CEO, like, a lot of it, it's difficult to know exactly what they do, exactly how important they are. When you hear that one's been sacked, you don't know why. Like, what did James Ellis do wrong? Did he do anything wrong? Was it him that chose to leave? It's very difficult, I think. So yeah, I don't really pay too much attention to it. Do you think we should sell Havertz if he gets another injury because we need durability to win the league? And look at City, who have Bernardo Silva every season for 50 games plus. No, we shouldn't. Well, look, I mean, if the problem is if Havertz got another injury, you wouldn't be able to sell him with the injury anyway. I think he's been very unlucky. He had a very bad hamstring injury that kept him out for a lot of last year. He then had this knee problem, which again kept him out for a long time. That combined meant he'd been out for basically a year. And when you're coming back from basically a year off, you're going to pick up little muscular injuries here and there along the way. So he's still young enough. Kai Havertz is still young enough that I'm more than happy to give him the time to hopefully shake these sorts of things off. Because I think he's good enough. He's good enough, in my opinion. I'm coming to London, specifically North London. What do you recommend me to do? I want to go to the Emirates as well. Yeah, I mean, I'd 100% recommend doing the Emirates tour. Like, if you're here and you have the opportunity to do the tour of the Emirates, it's a very cool thing to do. So I'd 100% recommend that. Otherwise, it depends what you're interested in. Like, I always find it really difficult to tell people, not to tell people what to do, but to give advice on what to do, because everyone's different. So like a lot of the normal touristy stuff in London, I don't find that interesting, really. Or maybe I did find it interesting the first time, but I can't remember the first time. And then it's like when you live here, it's less. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're used to walking past things like Big Ben and stuff like that, you just kind of become numb to it almost. But yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one. People are forgetting Havertz was run into the ground. Yeah, 100%. He was run into the ground. Personally, the idea Berta will be in charge of choosing the next manager actually terrifies me, given his Gok signing. I don't think Berta will be in charge of choosing the next manager, to be honest with you. Funny how we all wanted to see Raul Walters, Patino, Kozia Dubry playing. When we let them go, we were all annoyed with Arteta for not playing the kids. Maybe he was right. Right for not playing those. Yeah, there's always a massive gulf between the level that we think a youth player maybe is and the level that they actually are. Now, I would say a couple of these things. I think it's really difficult if you set a player on the wrong path, right? If you set a player out into the lower leagues, there are certain players, I think, especially if you're coming through an Arsenal academy, a City academy, where you're not built for the Championship. You're not built for that style of football. You're not built for that sort of physicality. And I think they struggle. But you're right. There are a lot of those players. I mean, Kozia Dubry looks excellent when I've seen him play a couple of times. But again, but I haven't seen the games where he doesn't look good, right? That's the difficulty. Lino Souza. Remember Lino Souza was going to be the next, like... Lino Souza was meant to be Zinchenko with athleticism at left back. Went to Villa. I think Villa nabbed him off us. Not seen or heard of him since. It's difficult. It is difficult. But that's where you see like Norton Cuffy. But Norton Cuffy looks good nowadays. But look at how long it's taken him. Look, the way that he's had to go around the houses to get to the level he's at. It's difficult. It's really difficult. I think when you look at Nwaneri's been treated very differently, Miles Lewis-Skelly's been treated very differently, Max Dowman is being treated like in an entirely different category, even to Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly. And I think you've got Marley Salmon coming through, who... I mean, I saw some highlights. Go and after this, go and look on Twitter for Marley Salmon's highlights last night. Very, very impressive. But you can tell that they're treated differently and that they're more likely to make it. And also, these are academy players that are making headway within the team that we've got now, right? So it's so much harder for you to get an opportunity in the current Arsenal team than it was to get an opportunity in the Arsenal team of 6-7 years ago, because the level is so much. If you can walk in, if you can be Marley Salmon, right, and you can come in and play minutes in this Arsenal team and not look out of place, that's crazy compared to if you could come into a team that had Shkodran Mustafi and Cedric Suarez in it and not look out of place. It's a whole different level. Aiden Heaven, I mean, Chido and Aiden Heaven, right? Aiden Heaven's had a decent amount of game time at Man United, but again, they've kind of phased him back out of things now. Chido Obi-Martin's back down playing in the under-18s for Man United. So yeah, it is. It's interesting, but I think, Max Dowman's going to be the one, I think, where it's just like a different caliber, different level completely to what we've seen. I rate Anus highly. Yeah, that's fair. But then look at how good Balogun looked. And realistically, don't get me wrong, Balogun's absolutely not having a bad career now. He's starting games at Monaco. Obviously scored 2 goals against PSG last week. But again, still probably wasn't good enough for our team, if we're honest. The Chido move never made sense. The Chido move made sense for Chido's agent and Chido's agent only. Kakuri moved to Grimsby. Yeah, Kakuri moved to Grimsby. Actually, I think someone before mentioned the Wrexham goalkeeper. That's Arthur Okonkwo, who, again, I think is struggling a little bit. What do you think the outcome would have been if Unai Emery let Saka go? Who would have been the right winger for the past 5 years? No idea. No idea. We'd have had to go into the market realistically. So who knows? Or maybe we'd have stuck with Marquinhos. Maybe that would have been the play. Rory, do you think Marley Salmon will be given the max treatment? Genuinely think this level of defender's talent is rare at this age. Not the max treatment. Like I said, I think Max Dowman is in a whole different bracket. When you hear the way that Arteta speaks about Max Dowman, like recently he spoke about Max Dowman coming back into training as if it was just a first team player. Like, you don't hear that about Marley Salmon. That said, it's far harder to break through at that age as a defender because the physical demands of a defender, not in terms of just the athleticism, but just your general size, muscle mass. Like, to be a defender, you have to be stronger. So it's far harder to break through at that age. I think what Marley Salmon is doing at 16 years old, where he's comfortably the best player in the under-21s right now, and I think he's captaining the under-21s at 16, is very impressive. It is very impressive. People are spamming Hand of Arsenal. Where is he? There he is. You love to see it. Big up, Rory. How did Saka's scans go yesterday? Any update? Yeah, we did. We spoke about that. Earlier on. Shout out to Indy Kyler. The fraud. We have condemned him, as we often do on this channel. I hope you're doing well, though. And as always, continue being a beacon for this fan base. Absolute legend. And the chat love you as well. So probably gone for Elise if Saka wasn't there. Maybe. I just don't. The thing is, if you actually look at until last summer, what we had actually spent on the attack until that point, we'd have just been in the mud. Like the difference Saka has made, the difference not having to buy Saka has made is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And that's where, when you are looking, and look, you talk about the two kids that signed pro deals today, right? Maybe we never hear from them again. That of course is the possibility for 90% of players, more than 90% of players that sign a pro deal at Arsenal. Eventually, they don't make it and they move on. But for the Sakas, for the Waneris, the Lewis Skellys, the Dalmans, it's worth it and it's exciting. So there you go. The fact that Emery wanted to use Saka as a make-weight to get Zaha signed should never be spoken highly of in M5 ever. Well, he's not spoken highly of, really. He's not spoken highly of. And also, Villa are bottling Champions League places at the moment. So, funny how you've not heard about Unai Emery being better than Arteta in the last few weeks, now that they're bottling Champions League spots. Butler Oyedeji is kind of okay in Switzerland. I thought he would have played more last season. Yeah, but again, it's such a difficult level to break through. It really is. Anyway, it is time for today's quiz question. Get your fingers on your keyboards. As always, the first person to get it right in the chat wins the immense pride and respect of the Rory Talks Football community. Hand of Arsenal said, personally, see Marley and Harry going out on loan next season. Interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting if they do send them out on loan, where they send them out on loan. Because, again, I think Marley Salmon going to lower league is the sort of thing that just wouldn't be beneficial. But that's interesting. Interesting. The thing is, he needs to step up from under-21s. There's no point having another season of under-21s for Marley Salmon. He's too good for it. Anyway, today's quiz question is this. Gabriel Jesus is Arsenal's current number 9. Lacazette was the number 9 before him. But who was the number 9 before Lacazette? Gabriel Jesus is Arsenal's current number 9. Lacazette wore the number 9 before him. But who was the number 9 before Lacazette? Dun, 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 dun. Loads of people were guessing names. If someone had guessed this name prior to the question, I would have been blown away. Someone guessed Squillaci. A couple of people guessed Havertz. But the first person to get it right is Oslo Gunnar. It is Oslo Gunnar. It was indeed Lucas Perez. Spoofer was second. Ross Lawman was third. Martin Erder, 87, was fourth. And Wilhelm was fifth. There you go. Congratulations to Oslo Gunnar. One of the absolute OGs of the channel. You love to see that. You love to see it. Ross Lawman, VAR, goal given. Goal given. Even though I was first on my screen. Look at that. Ross Lawman, he understands the way the internet works. That's good. That's why he's on VAR. That is why he is on VAR. But there you go. Anyway, look, that is going to be the end of the stream. By the way, the fact that we had over 400 people here on a day like today where there was not much news to talk about is absolutely sensational. I really do massively appreciate it. For anyone that's liked the video, thank you very much. If you could subscribe before you jump off, I'd be grateful. And keep your eye out. There's a video coming out. Keep your eye out for a video coming out on the channel as well this evening. So that should be good. But look, other than that, I will be live again tomorrow. So I hope to see you there. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. And I will catch you on the next one. Until then, goodbye.